Sup, dude? People say gingers have no souls, but Bill Walton was an exception. The 6'11" hippie may have had a fire crotch, but he also had a heart made of gold. His personality was one of the most unique in human history, consisting of loving things like the Grateful Dead, puffin' jazz cabbage, and hooping. While he was really good at putting back left-handed six, he was even better at basketball. On the court, Walton was a natural. Ever since he was a kid, that orange ball spoke to him in his dreams like Count Orlok.
You must bounce on it.
Growing up in La Mesa, California, it didn't take long for people to notice the giant gangly carrot top. By the time he hit high school, the dude was a man amongst boys, leading his team to multiple state championships and putting up stupid numbers. He averaged a ridiculous 29 points and 25 rebounds while shooting a national record-setting 78.3% from the field. His dominance in high school earned him a scholarship to UCLA, where he led the Bruins to 2 NCAA championships, and he was named the Player of the Year 3 times. Under the guidance of legendary coach John Wooden, Walton's game flourished, and he developed a reputation as one of the most talented players in college basketball history. Whether he's the greatest college basketball player ever, though, is up for interpretation. In my opinion, he's the second best behind Kareem, but the gap isn't very big. Cap won 3 natties and 3 Player of the Years in a row compared to Bill's 3 Player of the Years and 2 natties. Cap was also a much better scorer. Still, Big Red was no slouch. During his time at UCLA, he was an unstoppable force. He spent his freshman year on the JV team because there was some rule that didn't let freshmen play varsity, but from sophomore year on, he had the entirety of college basketball in a ball gag and gimp suit. He led the Bruins to a ridiculous 88-game winning streak spanning from his sophomore year to the middle of his senior year. Their first L in a very long time came against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame in January of 1974. And get this, Walton was out there playing with a fucked up back. Like, he injured it a couple games before and he was still cooking dudes. Despite all that, UCLA blew a 17-point halftime lead and got outscored 12-0 in the final minutes. Dwight Clay hit the dagger and Notre Dame walked away with a 71-70 win, snapping the egregious streak. Walton called it a complete failure on all levels, which just goes to show how high the standards he set for himself were. Even with a broken back, dude expected perfection. That loss to Notre Dame marked the beginning of a rocky senior year for Big Red. A week later, UCLA clapped back and demolished the Irish by almost 20 points in a revenge game, but the cracks were starting to show. Walton's body was breaking down, the team's chemistry was shaky, and the basketball gods seemed over UCLA's dominance. Later that season, the Bruins really shit the bed. They dropped back-to-back games against Oregon and Oregon State. That was unheard of for a Wooden-coached team. It was like seeing Superman bleed. Even with the cracks starting to show, Walton still played like a goddamn gladiator. In his senior season, the dude averaged 19 points, 15 boards, and 5.5 assists, while his spine was basically held together with duct tape and vibes. But the aura of invincibility around UCLA was fading fast. By the time the tournament rolled around, the Bruins were still dangerous, but they weren't the juggernaut they had been the last 3 seasons. Then came the Final Four. Walton and UCLA faced Skywalker and NC State in one of the greatest games in college basketball history. Walton dropped an absolutely filthy stat line of 29 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 assists. He was out there doing everything short of selling popcorn at halftime, but even that wasn't enough. NC State pulled off the upset, ending UCLA's dynasty with an 80-77 win. After that devastating loss, Walton's college career came to a close. The 88-game win streak, the championships, the Player of the Year awards, it was all legendary, but it was now time for him to dominate the NBA. The ABA made a hard push for Walton before the 1974 NBA draft. The San Diego Conquistadors dangled Wilt Chamberlain as a player coach and tried to convince Walton to stay local. But Big Red wasn't interested in the circus. He was destined for the NBA and went #1 overall to the Trailblazers. Portland fans had their hopes pinned on the giant ginger to turn their team around, but Walton's early years in the league were more ER than ESPN highlights. Dude was breaking down faster than a Chrysler. Still, when Walton was on the court, he showed flashes of the brilliance that made him a college god. In his rookie season, he averaged 12.8 points, 12.6 rebounds, nearly 5 assists, and 2.7 blocks in 35 games. The Blazers finished 38-44 under coach Lenny Wilkins, which was ass, but the foundation was being laid. By his second year, Walton improved to 16 points and 13.5 rebounds in 51 games. Injuries again kept him sidelined, they missed the playoffs again, but things were about to get better. In the summer of 1976, the Trailblazers brought in a new coach, Dr. Jack Ramsey, and traded for Maurice Lucas, a tough-as-nails forward from the ABA. Ramsey knew Walton's potential and built the team around his unique skill set. Walton wasn't just a big man, he was a point guard in a 7-foot frame. His passing, rebounding, and defense were unmatched, and with Ramsey's guidance, everything finally clicked. The 1976-77 season was Walton's breakout. He stayed healthy enough to play 65 games, led the league in rebounds with 14.4 and blocks with 3.2, and he also put up 18.6 points per game. He made the All-NBA second team, the All-Defensive first team, and was selected as an All-Star. Portland finished with nearly 50 wins and entered the playoffs as the 3rd seed in the West. In the first round, Big Red was ready to make some noise. He played like a man possessed, averaging 18 points, 17 boards, and 4 assists per game in the series. They breezed through Chicago, but things were about to get much tougher in the second round against the Nuggets. Denver was no joke, led by David Thompson, aka Skywalker, one of the most electrifying scorers in the league, and Dan Issel, a versatile 20 points per game scoring big man. Denver posed a massive threat, but Walton and the Blazers were no joke either. In a grueling 6-game series, Walton showcased why he was the best center in the league when healthy. He averaged 17 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, and nearly 4 blocks per game. His defense on Issel was pivotal, and his ability to run the offense from the high post gave Portland a unique edge. The dude was just so damn good at everything. After taking care of Denver, Portland found themselves in the Western Conference Finals playing against their division rival, the LA Lakers. The Lakers were the top seed and had fellow UCLA alum Kareem, the reigning MVP and arguably the greatest center of all time. The odds were not in Portland's favor, but in what can only be described as a basketball clinic, Walton bitched Kareem. He anchored the defense, ran the offense, and grabbed boards like a madman. Sure, Kareem averaged 30 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 4 blocks, but the one stat he couldn't get was a win. Bill and the Blazers swept him, and with those sissies out of the way, the Trailblazers were headed to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. Their opponents? The Philadelphia 76ers, a team loaded with talent. The Sixers had Dr. J, George McGinnis, and Doug Collins. They were the favorites, and when Philly won the first 2 games, it looked like the Blazers' Cinderella run was about to come to a gruesome end. But Walton wasn't done just yet. In Game 3, he put on a masterclass, dominating on both ends of the court and igniting Portland's offense. With the home crowd behind them, the Blazers turned the series around, winning 4 straight games to claim the championship. Walton's performance in the finals was nothing short of legendary. In the 6-game series, he averaged 18.5 points, 19 rebounds, 5 assists, 3.7 blocks, and a steal per game. Game 6 was his magnum opus. Walton finished with 20 points, 23 rebounds, 7 assists, and 8 blocks in a 109-107 victory. He was everywhere, contesting shots, grabbing boards, and orchestrating the offense like a 7-foot-tall point guard. His dominance earned him Finals MVP honors, and he became the face of one of the most unexpected championship runs in NBA history. After the game, Coach Ramsey summed it up perfectly. Bill Walton is the reason we're here. He's the reason we're champions. After the heights of 1977, Walton's body betrayed him again. His MVP season in 1978, where he averaged 18.9 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2.5 blocks in 58 games, ended with a foot injury. Without him, the Blazers crumbled in the playoffs, and Walton's relationship with the team soured. He accused Portland's medical staff of mishandling his injuries, and he sat out the entire 1978-79 season in protest. In 79, he decided to sign with the San Diego Clippers, but his injury woes followed him. Across 6 seasons, Walton played just 169 games, enduring multiple surgeries and never regaining his peak form. Then came a lifeline in 1985. Walton joined the Celtics, reuniting with a winning culture. As the 6th man behind Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish, Walton embraced his role with humility and grit. The 85-86 Celtics were one of the greatest teams ever, winning 67 games in the championship. Walton earned the 6th Man of the Year award, proving he could still impact the game. His career ended in 1987, and despite the injuries, Walton's legacy was cemented. A basketball savant whose genius shined, even if fleetingly. A ginger with the soul indeed. As always, shout out the Goobers, Sheesh, Maidzo2, Nolan Fincher, Quinn Murphy, Ray Thompson, Tippy Lou, and HTL. Y'all's support is greatly appreciated. And click here to watch my last video. It's about Manu Ginobili. Thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed. Bye, dude.